So today in the studio we have Prakash Gowda. Thank you for coming in and joining us today. So I'm going to spotlight you here a little bit. So you are from the agency Seattle, and
Yeah.
you were top producing agent for 2024
Yes.
with the agency Seattle, and also you just came back from Forum, which is the whole agency brand.
Yeah.
And that was
Palm Springs.
in Palm Springs, and you also got an award for chairman.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations on all those awards
so
and
much.
and working so hard and helping yourself and your family and the whole agency brand. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Alvina.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
saying a lot because there's some hitters up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yes.
you're doing well, my friend.
Well,
so,
and the
yeah.
chairman award, it's
Yeah.
top 5% for
yeah.
the whole agency.
Yes, the
Collectively?
it's the whole agency, in the sense, like, all of the, it's not just US, it's the whole the world.
Yeah.
Like, I think we have about 130 offices
Wow.
throughout the globe.
Yeah.
And in that it was top 5%.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Phenomenal.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
I mean, like, at the forum they were telling, like, we did about $16 billion dollar sales in 2024, and the top 5% did 50% of it. That's about 8 billion was done by 50, the top 5%.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
that's
well
awesome.
done. well
you,
done.
Thank you. I mean, it's like a fantastic feeling being a part of that 5%. When you hear the numbers, it's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So well done. Well
Thank
done.
you, thank you.
I'll kick it off to you.
Well, I guess kind of continuing that because so before we actually started this, we were talking about just success and why we started this podcast originally. And we name it the Impact Podcast. We name our team Impact Podcast because what we do isn't just a transactional thing. I think it's mistaken often because people portray it that way as just a transaction, right?
Yeah.
You're selling something, you're in sales, and it is sales, but it's more than sales. And for us, this is really based on, it's not transaction, it's going to be relationship based.
Yes.
And so seeing and working with some of your clients and seeing the contracts that come over, I mean, we work with a handful of really good brokers, and we consider you one of them because the negotiation that you do on their behalf, it's not just, throw it against the wall and it's stuck, awesome, see it closing. It's you actually are negotiating and for their best interest. And so I wanted to point that piece of it out. It's not, I mean, you're doing that volume, but it's not just a transaction. It's
Yes.
based on you really care about these people,
Yeah.
their families, and that obviously is showing because you're just seeing reciprocal business and referrals coming from that, I would imagine. So
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of communication, counseling, hand-holding in a way that they feel that they're getting taken care of, and it's a big transaction. This is life-changing. So the fact that you're there helping them, holding their hand, educating them, and making sure that they're getting the correct information the correct way, it's a big deal. So
It's important because see, when we do a transaction, it is not just a transaction. Like, the buyers should know what they are buying, and then how important it is to do a proper transaction. Like, what they are paying, is it worth they are paying? So those things they should know. Are they hitting the right kind of price point for that particular house, and is that the right kind of dream home what they are purchasing, these kind of things. And then also the sellers, when they list the home, they should know why they are proposing a price on their home. Is that the right kind of thing, and how they should present their home. So these are the things. It is not just going out there, listing something, or just writing a transaction. So making them understand what exactly they are doing in their transaction.
Well, and in a way for us to kind of measure that, I mean, historically, I've been doing this over 20 years. There's been years where 60-70% of my business came from working with financial advisors and the estate planning, and because real estate is a big part of that. And what I noticed back then, working historically with those people and that clientele, is everything we do is going to be funneled through that advisor because the trust is built. And working with your clients, I see the same thing. Hey, let's check with Prakash and so that's saying a lot. So take that as a compliment. That means you're instilling that trust, and
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
it's because you're taking that time to explain things, which is very, very important because there's so much misinformation. There's so much in regards to like assumptions. I mean, we hear that all the time as far as, I think rates are going to be, we're going to wait for rates to drop. Well, what are we missing out? Because there's a cost to everything. There's a
Yes.
cost of waiting. There's a cost of, the competition when you start seeing those lower rates. So anyways, just wanted to kind of expand on, hey, we hit this top 5%. That's, I think, how you're doing that is because you actually care and you're taking care of people, and it's based on relationship, not transaction.
That's more important. Like, see, rather than doing number of transactions, it's the quality of transactions what we focus on.
Right.
That's more important. Making people understand what they're doing, why they are doing. It is not just going out buying something or selling something. The criteria of things. It's more important. So making them understand, that gives more benefit. And definitely the knowledge helps a lot. That is how I get lot number of referrals. Here and from out of state and everything. People, refer me a lot. So that's how the transactions are happening.
Yeah, I like how you said that the quality of the transaction,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
education, counseling, all of that comes into play.
Yeah.
And like you said, that turns into more referrals because you took care of that
Yeah.
client in particular. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it works. Like, giving that freedom of speech for my clients, so that they understand, I want them to speak first and then come out of, what they're intending to do. So based on that, when we give some space to them, it's easier to work with them. Giving some time to understand the situation, because most of the people, like, certain times on a relocation, transactions, what happens, people don't understand the kind of market what we are in Seattle. Or Greater Seattle area, because they don't see multiple offers or escalations, the kind of transactions what we do here. So when they come, they are lost here. So it is just that we should handhold them and then explain it to them, walk them through, give them some time to understand the market, so that they are more comfortable, confident, and then they do exactly what they want to do. So that's more important. So that is how, like, I've been seeing, touchwood, people still, when they do want to do some investment or something like that, when they have done a transaction with me, they just wait. Okay, we want to wait. Whenever I say something, they want to follow that rather than just jump into a transaction. So yeah, I mean, it feels great sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said it best. You're giving them a voice. You're giving them the chance
Yes.
to, because nobody wants to feel pressured on any type of transaction,
Yes.
especially a home. So,
Yeah.
giving them that voice is huge, because it's in anything you do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
I mean, we should give some space to other people also. Like, when we give some space to the clients, they feel that comfort zone. Okay, I can ask whatever I want to. Like, see, we being in the real estate field, we know, because we do this thing daily, in and out. So this is our breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything. For them, it's just one transaction. So rather than pushing them to something, if we give them some space and make them understand the transaction a little better, then definitely, we can see multiple transactions from one client, rather than just doing one transaction and then they just go away. So you should, what I would rather foresee in a client, keeping them for a longer term, not just one transaction, buying and selling or something like that. Like doing a lot of other transactions, penetrating to their close circle, so that we get more number of transaction, quality of transaction. So that's more important for me, rather than just going over a routine work.
Yeah.
Well, you're building that trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is really what it boils down to, and part of that is just education and patience. And I mean, people know subconsciously, they know, like, is this person, they're pushing me to do this? I don't understand. So it's hard. It's an art, and so yeah, I think everything you're doing is full circle again. I mean, it's the reason why you're at that level, and we appreciate you coming in to where we can kind of peel back those layers and kind of spotlight that. I also feel like working as long as I have in this industry, like there's companies, and there's locations and organizations that have different products and have built their business model differently, and we're really impressed with the agency and their rules and everything else, right? And so we always joke at Jen, I'm like, I barely made it past that first rule, which is no hassles, by the way.
Right.
But
it really
it's
is the number one rule.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. But so I guess explain a little bit, because sometimes it's hard to, like, when you meet with clients and a family, it's like, who are you? Why real estate? Why not something else? What makes you want to actually help people and families get into homes? And then why the agency? So maybe explain a little bit, because I think that's always interesting to find out why you're here, because we know why we're with Movement. I mean,
yeah.
right, there's a reason why, and so what's your reason, I guess?
Yeah, basically, when I moved to US, I was lost. In fact, I didn't know what to do. Back in India, I used to do my own. I mean, I used to have my own business, rather. And basically, I was a civil engineer. I started my career, constructing homes, commercial, constructing commercial buildings back in India.
Wow.
Yeah, but the construction, type is different from India to here, but it's kind of, there are similarities where we can understand. As a civil engineer, I could understand that. So that's one thing. My wife told me, again, she told, her friends had just given her tips about, asking me to try out real estate here. And then, so I thought, let me try. And then, moreover, I like being more social. I like talking to people. And it keeps me happy. That's one thing. So that helped me a lot. And then, when I thought I'll just give it a try for a year, and then, it's, this success story, just helped
awesome.
me, year after year. And then, I worked with Jen, at Coldwell Banker Bain, for I think about 4.5, 5 years, probably. And then I knew her. I moved to Compass, and then one day suddenly in I think it was somewhere in late November or early December in 2023, Jen called me and then asked me to come over to the office. I went there. I felt like that. The office environment was more family oriented rather than see, being friendly is different. You feel that family warmth is something different. That's what I felt. It's kind of the agency is kind of boutique. Like boutique in the sense, like there are uh, smaller number of brokers, but there are quality brokers, and then you enjoy the company with each other. Like they don't mind helping each other, whatever it might be, whatever it takes might be. Like so that's what I liked in the agency, and yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, we've definitely noticed the collaboration there with, with Jen and you, and I mean, just everyone. Like, okay, they have,
Firsthand.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
they have experience or expertise in this, and so we're going to leverage this to help. And it's actually really cool because it's not, this industry can be, as you know, like very guarded, and uh, you know, rising water kind of raises all boats type thing. And so we have the same kind of mastermind mentality here, where collectively we have centuries worth of experience and knowledge and billions of dollars in closed volume. Like we've been at bats, whether it's not this particular deal I've never come across, but maybe a couple the people here have. And so it's this hive mentality, and I feel like that's very much what we see up there in that office. Everyone's
Yeah.
pulling in the same direction. It was
Pulling
cool.
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean-
same direction and helping each other succeed.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's more like what I felt in the agency like was everybody are there to help each other. Like somebody is low in their business or something. It's just giving them that push, and then giving them that positive energy where they could succeed.
Right.
Everybody wants everybody's success, and the best thing is like mm, all the brokers celebrate the success of everybody. That's more important rather than an individual celebrating his or her own success. It's that family bonding, where everybody is so happy and kind of enjoying the success of each other.
Yeah.
So that's what I felt. It's very cool there.
I love it. I love it. Like I said, we've seen it firsthand where, you and Jen and Melissa and a couple the brokers are like, here's my playbook. I need help on this end. Oh, this is what I do.
Yes.
So and then, it's like you said, it does feel good. It feels good to have somebody celebrate that win with you.
Yes.
Not just you by yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, see, when we celebrate on our own, it's just couple of minutes.
yeah.
And when we do it as a family,
Yeah.
that memory is kind of giving you energy all the time. So that's more important,
Yeah. Love it.
rather than individuality.
Yeah.
That's what I like there.
Yeah. That team approach. Yeah.
Yes,
Very
absolutely.
much.
Absolutely.
Was it hard to move from India to here?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
When I moved, it was very hard, because I mean, it's a kind of you are moving into a new culture, with like adapting here. I was there for what almost about 48, 49 years in India, and then moving here. As a kid, it's easier to adapt.
Sure,
Right.
Probably as a student, it's easier to adapt.
Yep.
As a grown up coming here, it takes some time, because you're into kind of space where you don't know anybody. You just tend to make new connections, and then you are starting a career from zero, right from scratch, and then you have to hit the success story quickly. That's another thing, because age is also there.
Yeah.
So that's where it was difficult, but probably touch wood, I hit luck pretty quickly. So that's what I could say.
I
And
would
then I
say
met
hard
the right
work.
kind of people. Yeah, I met the right kind of people.
Yeah.
At each and every step.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I bring that up because it's like, there's you can have all the excuses in the world, like, okay, well, I moved to a different city or a different town or moving across country. It's like, no, you came to a different country, different culture, and now you're succeeding at a very high level, which, back to the
Phenomenal.
reason why we have these conversations with brokers, because it's, again, real estate, mortgage, okay, yeah, that's what it is. But it's like, there's some really cool stories, like, and success stories that we feel, need to be shared. I mean, it's cool. And so back to what we originally kind of started the conversation on, I mean, that's impressive for one, but impressive where you didn't really know anyone,
I know.
so
I was
congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
Right?
Thank you.
it's awesome. I know we wanted to kind of get into, as far as like building that trust and getting into what's important in working with our clients. And I know you'd asked, some maybe questions or some conversation we have about what the loan process looks like and strategy and some differences, just so we can kind of educate and, so wanted to kind of make sure we have enough time for, some of your questions that you had.
Yeah, basically what happens, first time homebuyers particularly, most of them think, if they speak to a lender, actual lender, what happens, like they will do a hard pull of the credit score, that they don't like, because see, the social media, like all these WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, or people tend to give wrong notions about lending. This will happen, that will happen, and then your credit score will go down. See, people should understand what they're doing, rather than going in online and then getting some pre-approval, because it's a generic thing what they're doing. So I want them to more like, I want my community to understand why they should go through a proper process, rather than just follow something, what other people say. So I want them to have that first hand experience about actual lending process.
Yeah.
So I would love to have the tips from you, the lessons from you, why
Yeah.
they should.
The credit thing is interesting, and just the overall pre-approval process is interesting. And so you coming from an engineering background, if we look at it from like, let's kind of reverse engineer the whole process, right? Because it's, when we're starting, we're looking to the abyss of, okay, I want to buy a house. Well, that's great. And yes, you're going to have to kind of go through this process and hop over these hurdles. The credit piece of it is important, and we can do a soft pull. That's not really a concern. It's just, what are we trying to do? Are we doing this to try to avoid having a hit on your credit, or are we doing this to actually purchase a home? Because for us, we need to make sure, because if we're going to reverse engineer this whole process, put yourself in the seller's shoes, because at some point you're going to sell your home, most likely. On average, it's about 5 to 7 years. So if you're going to sell your home, if someone's making an offer, you're going to want to know, is this going to close? Unless you have a bag full of cash, then it's a little different conversation. But so we really try to instill in our clients, like, the seller doesn't care about your rate. Seller doesn't care that you got it online and you got this amazing rate. They want to know what's going to close. They want certainty.
Yes.
In a very uncertain market and time, we need certainty. And so, it's if we're putting ourselves in the seller's shoes, then how are we going to present the best offer? The best offer is making sure that it's going to close.
Yes.
It's not the lowest rate. Now,
Yes.
as a consumer, we all want the best deal and lowest rate. We have great rates, but if you want the lowest rate, I'm sure there's a online jankybank.com or whatever that we can find that you can print a pre-approval letter or pre-qual letter off of. But are we really arming ourselves to really compete in this market? Probably not. And I mean, I've had conversations with people that, their friend or their brother or their dad or their parent or coworker, or they just have read an article where it's like, well, I shouldn't have to do this and I shouldn't have to do this. Yeah, you shouldn't have to, but the market is not what you're seeing. It's changed. And so let's look behind the curtain of here's how we are successful. This is how we're going to do it. And if you don't like the rate, well, most people probably don't like rates right now. In a joking way, because we'll build a relationship with the client and we have the rate conversations. Like, you don't even have to like me. I'm going to get you in the home and here's how I'm going to do it. But we could probably all agree right now that the first opportunity to refinance you're going to take, whether it's an eighth lower right now,
Yeah.
or it's a 1% lower in 2 years from now, you're going to probably not have this loan for very long.
Yeah.
So let's get you in the home, because you're again, we're not looking at the finish line. We're looking at this one piece. And so we really try to break it down to where, like, okay, let's do a 30,000 foot view of what we're trying to accomplish. There's three things that we focus on. There's acquisition time, acquisition cost, and then the cost of that money. We can never change the first two. We never go back in time machine, and get it at the certain time or a certain price point. But we can, in theory, change that third one.
Yes.
And so it's our job to make sure that we get the first two handled and dialed in to where you're getting concessions from the seller or we're competing. It's our job to have competitive rates, but our most important job is to make sure that if we send out a pre-approval letter, we've vetted everything out. We know the employment. We know, because there's so many pitfalls.
Yeah.
Variable income is a big thing right now. You have someone that is paid hourly and they take 15 minutes off on a Friday to go see their kids, play or whatever. And we see that on our pay stub. Well, now it's a variable rate mortgage. And now we have to look back and get 12 months of pay stubs. And right. And so if we don't do that up front, we're just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping, that it's not going to be a problem. And what's really important for us to instill with our clients that are trying to buy is for them to understand that we have to, like, one of our biggest jobs is preserving your reputation as well as the listing agent's reputation.
Yes.
Because that seller is going to look to the listing agent, and if there's other offers there, they're going to say, okay, which one do I pick?
Yeah.
Well, all things equal, jankybank.com has a great rate, so I'm sure that's probably not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But I talked to Alvina, I talked to Rob, and they told me what that person has vetted out
Yes.
and their motivation and all these other things. So that's why it's so critical to have the conversation. And it's hard for us to have a conversation and try to preserve that reputation if we're just dancing around the idea of a hard credit pull. Again, we can get pretty far into the process with a soft credit pull, but for us to actually have everything and vet it out and know for certain there isn't going to be something that pops up, we have to have it. And so back to the whole reverse engineer, are we doing this to preserve the 3 or 5 points that it might adjust down for doing a hard pull?
And really, it is 3 to 5
Right.
points. It's not.
Or are we trying to get you into the home?
Number.
And
Okay.
that's a timing thing. Is this 6 months out? Then let's do the soft pull. If this is something where your lease is ending here in May, what are we talking about? We got to do this. We got to help you get into this. So those are things that we really try to educate. And it's hard because there's a lot of dismantling of just assumptions and bad advice from friends, family, that type of thing. So,
Yeah.
but it's important.
Yeah. In between, one question about the credit score. As you said, it's 3 to 5 points. What they get hit about. How long would that take to recover that 3 to 5 points? Yeah, let's say it's 5 points. How long would that recover? Say for example, a buyer is buying. He has 90 days time to buy it, and then yes, he gets pre-approved, and you know in that 90 days, would the buyer recover that 5 points?
It's hard to say. I mean, the quick answer would be typically yes, just because it's the credit. When you pull credit and how it's reported, it's kind of a flawed model in my opinion, anyways, because it's a blip of time. We could pull credit, and that borrower could have paid something off, but it didn't actually report yet,
Yeah.
and so that act of paying off an account could raise scores 15 points or 20 points or drop it. I mean, there's so many variables that are gonna impact that. So it's hard to say for certain, like, oh yeah, it's gonna be exactly this amount of time. 3 to 5 points in the grand scheme of things. If we are borderline, like we need a 580 in order to do some type of FHA loan, and we do it and it drops to 575. Okay, well that's pretty devastating, right? So we kind of pre-qualify that aspect on when we're going to pull credit, right? So any idea where scores are right now, if someone says 700, 720, 760, we're usually not worried about that because it's usually going to come in at that.
Yeah.
If someone says we're in the 600s or I think it was 620, then we're going to start digging a little bit deeper, like, okay, why is that? Okay, what do you have going on as far as like other liabilities? Are you behind on anything? When do those report? Because we might hold off on actually pulling the report, the full hard pull, until we know that's actually going to report, or we do the soft pull at that point to kind of see, okay, let's test the waters and see where we're at.
Yeah, man, like here, for example, let's say a person has a good credit score, maybe, 700s, in the low 700s, for example, about 720 or 740-ish kind of thing. And then they don't have any other thing like, big mortgage other than their car payments. So in that case, because typically these IT company employees, they are in that range. They might have maximum 2 car payments. Other than that, not much. Just the regular credit card payments, which they usually pay it off every now and then. So they're saving money to make a big move by purchasing a home. In that case, like, what do you say, like, how quickly they can recover their credit score?
I mean, I think it's pretty quick.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say at most 3 months, but it's probably more than likely 2 to get those 5 points back.
Yeah, because usually because the tech industry people they just speak to each other, and then most of the times the advice what they get from their social circle, which is like everybody will be browsing, not even like they'll be doing window shopping rather than doing the actual process. So the people who are doing the window shopping advise them more, and then it's like human tendency. People listen to them, and then they say, when I tell them this is better to do it, certain times at the start they say let me wait, when I'm getting closer to buying a house or kind of thing, and then I'll do the pre-approval. Because again, when coming to the pre-approval, I understand their anxiety about credit scores, but what I rather advise them, if they have a pre-approval ready in hand, we don't know when we find the right kind of home.
Right.
It might be the first week, second week, it might be the first day itself. So what do you think, getting the pre-approval upfront at the start of the search itself is good?
I think it's critical because it's
Especially in these times.
because if we don't, again, kind of reverse engineering, right? Because
Yeah.
it's almost 100% of the time, if someone's not wanting to commit as far as like, okay, do the full pre-approval and pull credit, they're the ones that find the home and fall in love with it, and then they're in this panic. And this what we do can be in a very, an emotional thing. And so when we have those conversations with our clients, it's like, this is an emotional thing and it's okay. It sounds weird to be emotional about a home, but subconsciously you walk into the house, into the foyer, and you're, oh my gosh, I'm envisioning my family and my kids here, and holidays, and gatherings and food and all these things. It's just it happens. It's an emotional thing. And if it's competitive, it's even more emotional. So we want to have the conversations where we can think logically. Let's put our business hat on and say, okay, here's what I'm going to set up as far as my parameters. We talk about, not necessarily, we'll talk about what their max pre-approval is, but we also talk about what they're comfortable making, because again, the transaction is, here's your max pre-approval, here's your letter, good luck, see you later. Well, if that's $2,000 more a month than what they feel comfortable with, those are bad calls you're going to have after they're under contract, and we don't want to have that. So I feel like it's really critical to kind of do some reps. So we'll have, in a perfect situation, we have the conversation, we pull credit, we gather everything as far as the income, we vet that out, and then we start putting together scenarios. Okay, let's set up a search parameter, and the homes that you find, the ones you like, send those over to us, and we'll break down your loan options for each one, so they can see what that payment is. Great. Now, if that payment might range from $500 a month based on if there's HOAs or property taxes and stuff like that, well, now go look at it. And now you're walking through the house like, okay, this is $4,600 a month, and there's no way I'm paying $4,600 from. Or this is $4,600 a month, and my comfort level is 42. It's $400 more a month. It's got an extra room. It's closer to work. It helps with the shopping aspect, because when you look at hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's just sensory overload, and we can't, our minds, most people, don't comprehend in hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. We look at that, the servicing monthly, that expense, and okay, how am I going to justify this payment? And so when we do it that way and they're out shopping, it's so much more enjoyable. It's like they're part of that process, and it's like, this is, I don't know, it's like, it's so easy. Everyone's happy versus, no, I don't want to do this. I want to try to control it. I don't want my credit dinged. And then they drive by and see an open house that weekend, and then, oh my gosh, I need to have this house. And then they're just freaking out. That's just never a good feeling. I mean, we do it obviously, but it's so much better just to have that bigger, because it's a huge financial investment, obviously. And
not only that,
Yeah.
Getting that full pre-approval allows you as the broker the art of negotiation.
Right.
Yes.
And
Very
it
true.
gives you full capacity to do what you need to do on your end.
Yes.
And if
True.
you're not, if your hands one hand is tied behind your back, then you're not able to negotiate the way the way you should and you're going
Very
to
true.
bat for your clients. So it only benefits them to do the homework up front, get that full pre-approval, get that full plan out, and that helps your strategy the way you need to do that. That benefits your client the best.
It allows us to uncover if they have the ability to cover their closing costs and their prepaids. If it's a competitive situation, do you have extra money? If you have to go, bid over the asking price, and there's a form that you have to sign, like, okay, well, I'm willing to cover this amount more than what the appraised value is for that. Do we have that? Do we need to negotiate, like I said, the closing costs? What do we have for our down payment? Is it liquid? All these things that we need to make sure that we're not, having something, catastrophic happen because we didn't do those.
Let Prakash do his skill set and let him do what he needs to do to help you.
Oh yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, very true. Like, if as a real estate agents, if we know their maximum capacity and the comfort zone.
Yeah.
There are certain times what happens, like, they are in a comfort zone, but maybe just a wee bit stretch,
Yeah.
they can get the best home they like. That is where, we tend to ask them, like, get to know what your highest capacity would be.
Right.
And then, yeah, let's work on the comfortable zone where you are,
Yeah.
and then we work backwards from there. So that's how, we know, like, we can negotiate a good deal for them,
Yes.
and then they are also happy at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, coming back to another thing, like, about the numbers, what you were telling, Rob, uh, like, people, when they are buying their first home, they are in a comfort zone where they are paying for a two-bedroom apartment, about maybe about $2,500 or $3,000, and then suddenly they see about, they like a house which is costing them about $6,000 or $7,000 monthly mortgage. And then, the out of pocket is about 3 to 4 thousand more than what they are paying regularly. What do you say, like, rent versus mortgage? How do you equate that? Uh,
That's a good question.
So the rent versus buy
yes.
conversation, and it's kind of, again, leading with the end in mind. We're not buying you're buying an asset, right?
Yes.
And so if they have the capacity to save 401k, retirement, this is very much a version of that you happen to live in. And so we talk about the appreciation. We talk about it as an investment. We talk about, our clients right now that we're doing, reverse mortgages for, that that's their only asset they have, and that's how they're able to retire. That's how they're able to exist. They work their entire life to pay the thing off. Well, you have an asset that, is worth 600, $1 million, $2 million that you can tap into at some point, that's going to help you, in retirement. But
Life changing.
there is payment shock, and so that's why we have the conversation based on what they're comfortable with, and that comfort level isn't always grounded in reality. And sometimes that's the education piece of it. Like, let's go out and look. Okay, well, yeah, all these homes you're looking at are drastically more on a monthly basis. So let's talk about your budget. Let's talk about, because and we'll use other analogies, like buying a car. When we were first starting, first married and buying a car, like $350 a month for a car payment, I felt was my max. And for whatever reason, that's still stuck in my head. And I don't know a $350 car payment out there that even exists unless you're buying a $4,000 car, right? It just doesn't exist. I mean, we see stuff, 600, 700, 800, 1,000, 1,500 a month. It's just crazy, right? So it's like, what is that payment grounded in? Because to your point, like, what is your max? You do qualify for this, but I'm not paying that payment every month. But you're also wanting to buy something. Why are you wanting to buy? Because if you're just looking for a place to exist and live, then maybe renting is the best route. But if you're looking for something to where I'm going to build equity and this thing's going to appreciate, and I'm also going to have amortization where I'm paying it off, part of that, using that $6,000 a month analogy, part of that $6,000 that you hand out, part of it you're taking as principal and you're putting right back in your other pocket, right?
Yes.
The other part's going to the investor that lent the money as interest, but then you have your property taxes and you have insurance and stuff like that. So it is an investment. It's and that's how wealth. If I look at the people and our clients that have amassed the most amount of wealth, real estate is a very large part of that, unless they're,
Yeah, I mean, also in that, whatever the interest they're paying, the property tax what they're paying, and also the home insurance, leaving the principal amount what they're, paying in that mortgage, I think they also get the benefit of, tax deduction at the end of the year. That's what I feel like. People don't understand about rent versus buying, because rent, they're paying the money after they are paying their income tax,
Right.
and versus when they're purchasing, I feel like the end of the year they're getting the tax deduction, plus the when you calculate the principal what they're saving, and then at the end of the year, whatever appreciation what they're getting in, roping in that, and then calculating what they're paying and then what they're getting. Probably I would rather say they're living in a bigger space, their own space,
Their own space, yeah.
with probably even half the money what they're paying as rent. Maybe if they're paying 3,000, maybe about $1,500, they're paying that much to have a bigger space and of their own.
Right.
And then I feel I've been seeing in these years, like after 5 years, usually if they keep the property for 5 years, I've seen people making almost like 70 to 80% of the purchase price what they are done. What do you say about that?
Yeah.
So I'm actually doing a refinance for a client that bought in 2019. Bought the home. This is in Pierce County. Bought the home for $615,000. We just got the appraisal back today for 1.1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He put $100,000 down.
Yeah.
So and me being me, I kind of OCD'd the other day on. I was in ChatGPT and looking at, okay, if you look at the S&P and you look at other investment stocks and real estate, specifically King, Pierce, Snohomish County, and Washington State. So I mean, other states are going to be different returns, but
Yeah.
how is that paced in relation to investing in stocks? And so, it actually didn't outrun that, but I mean, today it might have, based on what's happened in the stock
Right,
market
yeah.
today. It's the day after tariffs, just based on whenever this comes out. It's been kind of a bloodbath in the market. But if you look at that, it's like the utility of living in a home and buying real estate is different than putting money in stocks.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You actually are able to use it, and it's an investment. Again, they're raising their family in it. The reason why we're doing the refinance is because back in 2019 there was better rates, but it also has 2 kids going to college.
Oh, yeah.
So you have, and we're not tapping all that. We're using it to offset some expenses. But that $100,000 investment that he put down is $615. The loan amount was like $515. Is 5x'd in just shy of 6 years. I mean, I would do that all day, every day. And that's just one example, right? I mean, obviously there's going to be different things, but it's pretty crazy when you look at it, and it's hard when you're that person that's trying to get in and you don't know, and it's so much money. And so I challenge people all the time, where it's like, I'm a big proponent on using other people's money, meaning if you have $100,000 put down, what does it look like if you put less? Because again, everyone's kind of comfort zone based on monthly payment, but also everyone's zero in their bank account is different.
Yeah.
Your zero might be $100,000 more than my zero, right? So it's one of those things, like some people, like, if I have $5, I'm cool. I have some clients like $50,000, I'm starting to panic, right? So it's understanding that, and so using that money. Once that money is in the house, it costs money to get it back out. So what is the cost of money over time? And based on today's rates, it's about $6.43 for every dollar you borrow or don't borrow. So if you extra 10 grand less down, you just keep 10 grand in your bank, is that going to allow you to sleep better at night? Because that's only going to cost you $63 more a month in payment. So you start breaking it down to where they can kind of start visualizing those differences. Like, yeah, I'd much rather have 10 grand left over in the bank, and I mean, they'll spend $63 at Starbucks over 2 weeks.
Right, yeah.
So those are things that we just try to really kind of break down into real life things, because it's hard. And I want to kind of go back as far as the strategy and the pre-approval piece of it. um, it's hard for people when, as a consumer, because everything else in the world, for the most part, we go out and we buy. That's the price.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Real estate, there's always a starting price, but there's negotiations.
Yes. True.
And there's someone making a decision whether they can accept what you're offering.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to kind of wrap your mind around that until you've done it several times, to where I can offer this and they don't have to say yes,
Yes.
or there's someone else willing to pay more. And again, back to like, okay, understanding we have to have a team around you to be successful.
Yes.
You have to have that team to where it's not just Prakash calling and negotiating.
Yes.
We're negotiating on your behalf as well as a consumer. You know, real estate happens evenings and weekends. That's when
Yeah.
people are not working and making offers. And so it's probably really difficult for you if it's, you know, a call center back in Indiana that I can't get a hold of the LO because
Yeah.
I need updated pre-approval, all those things. So it's all part of the strategy of making sure that we're successful to make that work. And so it's hard to decouple all these assumptions and this bad information that's out there when you're talking to someone, when there's emotion involved, and that's just what everyone that they trust historically is telling them because of their experiences or assumptions. So it is a lot of heavy lifting, and that's why I think it's so important to start and have the full pre-approval and go through that and having, you know, everything, and not, I mean, we have some people like, nope, I already know I'm good, and awesome. I mean, we'll play that game too, but I don't think that's wise, especially in a market where, as the buyer, we're quickly starting to lose control because of rates coming down, which is a great thing, but we don't have enough inventory, and that's a problem. So
well, like I think I read some statistics, you know, sometime back. You know, we were running short of what, 32%, you know, shortage of inventory. That's
Yes.
too much.
I think nationally it's even more. Nationally, I think it's more. I mean, we need builders to build, but there's also just a lot of pent up. There's people that I know that are living in their homes that are just waiting for rates to come down, and there's some stuff that we've seen where those people that have the 2% and 3% interest rates, they're waiting for rates to get into low 6s or high 5s, and that's kind of where that is. When it was 7 or 8%, I can't make that move. But when you justify a rate that's,
I felt, you know, probably, you know, buyers panicked, or rather they were under a shock when the rates, you know, skyrocketed beyond 7, and I mean, that state of shock, you know, like the market was really very bad. And then probably 2024, I saw people, okay, this is what is the fact, what we have to live with. So it's better to purchase now rather than wait for more time and then, you know, see the competition, you know. I think, I mean, at least people in Washington State, you know, they are getting more educated. Like they see the difference,
Sure.
you know, now, and then they know that they can refinance once the rates go down. But I mean, again, coming to that part, you know, as a right kind of real estate agent, you know, what we try to advise them is like, you know, you're, you know, you don't have to buy equity by paying down payment when the rates go down, versus when you know, purchase a house, you know, purchase a property now, you know, when the rates are high, and when the rates go down, the appreciation levels go, you know, high than expected. That is when you are getting that equity, higher equity, when you're not paying anything. The market is giving you the equity freely because you have taken the pain of investing it in that situation. So, you know, do you think that is the right kind of advice? what do you feel like? Like people should invest, now and then, you know.
Yeah, I feel like we're seeing that shift happen for probably the last 6-8 months. 95% of our purchase contracts had some form of concessions.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're seeing that shift pretty quick. We actually have had some bid over asking. We had some 22 ADs. Sorry, using jargon, but so basically you're saying if we agree to buy the home for this amount and it appraises for less, we'll cover that difference or a percentage of that difference. So that's extra cash that we have to have out of pocket to make that work. Those are starting to come back, multiple offers. So I feel like we're emerging from a really good time. At the end of the day, again, not trying to hyperfixate on concessions versus not. It's getting in, because we had clients that did do the bid over ask and substantially over and still got in. But I can tell you right now, they made that up, within 12 months, 24 months. And if you look over a 30-year term, we have those tools to actually illustrate that, because I'm very visual. You're an engineer. You probably like to see the charts and everything else.
Oh yeah.
That's my love language. And so I have assumptions, but I always put that data in to visually see it and make sure I'm giving this, the right advice. So yeah, we just did that for another broker at the age at Angela for one of her clients, and it was right at 2 years is where that where it started to make sense. And yeah, it's hard. And I think the rent was what $2,000 or $3,000 more, or sorry, the payment was $2,000 or $3,000 more than what the rent was, similar to your analogy. But you look at it was over a 9-year period. I think it was about $158,000 in equity. And that's a historical average, right? So that's based on kind of where we're kind of coming from. If you look projected and as rates kind of come down with lack of inventory, I mean, you can see those adjustments. We saw that in 2020, 21, and part of 22, where we had double digits appreciation. That's back to my refinance client. That's where they made probably the majority of their gains is based off of that. So I don't think there's a bad time to get in. I think it's just you got to get in and have time in the market. Just like if you're looking at stocks, if you're trying to buy Bitcoin, if you're trying to buy any of that stuff, time in market is going to be really important. And acquisition time, price, and then the servicing of that debt. It's our job to try to get you the cheapest cost of money over time, and that's what we do, right? So we'll find ways to get you lower costs, lower servicing costs, but you got to get in.
Yeah, and that's what I also say or rather tell my clients, when they ask me, like, what is the right time to buy, or when is a good time to buy? That's what when they ask that question, it's straight like whenever you're ready, that is the best time to buy. There is no good or bad time to buy. It is just that you should be ready. Your mindset should be ready to buy something.
Right.
That is when it's a good time to buy, the best time to buy rather. So I don't see anything like any time of the year, or it's bad or good, or something. It's just that you should be ready mentally to buy something, or whatever you want to do something. That is when it's best time to do it.
Yeah, we've had some clients that that payment was substantially more than what they were comfortable with, and there is that disconnect. And so part of the reason kind of I bring this up is like, okay, why it's so important to do this up front. If we have time, if your lease isn't coming up, in 2 months or 3 months, I mean, if we have some time, some runway, take that, what that payment is. You're going to pay your rent, but that difference, don't spend it. Just put it into a different account.
Yeah.
So it's no longer in front of you anymore. And tell
Mhm.
me how that feels at the end of the month. And let's
Okay.
do that 2 months, 3 months. And some people are like, there's no way I can't do this. Others like, I didn't really even miss it. I'm like, okay. So
Yeah.
that's a really good exercise to kind of, again, those practice reps, and why it's really important for us to know this is the loan type, this is what you qualify for, this is, and have all that built. And then let's just practice that. Because, there's some people, maybe it's single mom, maybe it's, a situation where I don't have any other, if it's all on me, I have no backstop. Okay, great. Then let's practice this before we get in, right? These are the training wheels, I guess, if you will.
Well, even when you are ready, when you see that first house payment and you're like, okay, we're under contract, can we do this? Because I still remember that feeling when we first bought our new house, or our first house together. I'm like, can we do this?
It was
Can we
it
really
was
do
over
this?
twice our what our rent was.
Yeah.
And-
And once we got into the house, I was like, what was I even worried about?
Right.
Like, we're fine. This is ours. It's our home, and we eat in, which is fine. But I'd rather eat in anyway. But it's doable. It's totally doable. It's just a little bit of that shock factor when you're not used to it. But once you're there, you're like, what was I even worried about?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, yeah, I feel like, people get, what is that, tensed about the payments, and then, they need to be, explained, or, made to be understood about how it works, because the mortgage doesn't change year after year.
Right.
But their financial capacity definitely changes,
Yes.
because their salary, it might not be increasing a whole lot, but still, a small jump also, gives that extra bit comfort. Okay, now I'm comfortable. Okay, about $100 a month, or probably $150 a month extra. So maybe we need to struggle for a couple of years, and then the third year we'll see the enjoyment about purchasing that house, the dream house, and then enjoying that house. See, as Rob said about paying the rent and whatever the difference in what their mortgage would be, in saving that much, or putting that into a different account, and then working that out, and then experiencing that that issue,
Feeling.
maybe about 2-3 months, they will understand better, like, okay, yes, this is doable. Upfront it looks difficult, but definitely it's doable. And then, yeah, that's a good exercise, actually.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also kind of knowing thyself, right? So when we have like refinance clients, for example, if we're going to pay off debt, okay, we might save 30. I had clients save $3,500 a month just on consolidating debt. That's pretty life changing in some situations. Like that's a second job, or a third job, whatever that might be. But are you going to go right back and rack up that debt? And so, again, part of working with financial advisors and putting together a strategy is like, okay, we want to enjoy the benefit of that savings, but do we really need to enjoy the full 3,500? No. And in this particular client, it's like, okay, I want to set aside some money so I can go on vacation, because I haven't been able to do that. I've just been working. Great. We're going to carve out that. We're going to engage the financial advisor. We want to start supplementing what they have as far as their 401k and other retirements. And then, hey, here's our spending cash. And so we start looking at that, and we can project that out based on, the Rule 72 and compounding interest and like everything else. You look at how wealth is growing based off of just leveraging that. But if they hadn't been in the home and had the equity to do that to begin with, they wouldn't have any of that. So it can be a really powerful tool. It's just, again, back to not just the transaction piece of it, but really having that relationship. And, there's been several clients where, hey, we want to buy, maybe the military, for example, but, a year and a half, 2 years, we look at that rent versus buy comparison. It doesn't make sense to buy. With commissions and everything else, it's going to cost you too much. We'll help you when you move back because you want to come back to the area, but just rent for now, and when you're, come back in 3 years or 4 years or whatever that is, then we'll help you in that situation. Because unless this is the house and you're going to rent it out and maybe keep it, then that's a little bit different conversation. But if it's just short term to get away from rent, you're going to lose money in this transaction. So, but yeah, I think it's good to kind of, at least for people to kind of hear us have the conversation on what that is and the different strategies. But it's all about the education, and
and who you work with.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who you work with.
But so yeah, until next time, we appreciate you coming in, and our studio audience today.
Yes, our studio audience. It's
Yeah, it
nice
was a
to
good
have
pleasure.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Love it.
we definitely covered a lot, and so we appreciate you and everything you're doing, and we're excited to be part of that. So yeah, we'll keep this going. So thank you. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.